What's going on, YouTube? This is Sports Gaming 1, and we've shown you the quarterbacks here on the new rosters for NCAA football. Now, this week, I'm going to be showing you the running backs, as then we start moving on to showing all the teams. I'm actually going to go team by team, show one team a day here on this channel, and we'll be breaking those teams down in other ways over on the SG1 Sports channel. So again, we're going to do it just like we did with the quarterbacks, go conference by conference, beginning with the SEC. And we start here with Alabama. And the way I did this, I tried to do 2 running backs per team. There may be some where I only was able to do 1, or I think I really did 2 on every team, I think. And there is an occasion where I might have done 3, like with Alabama. I did do their top 3 running backs. So you see Damian Harrison, 97 overall. That's almost as good as it gets. Josh Jacobs, a 93, and Najee Harris, an 88. The big thing for him is his speed is only 81, so he's not quite as fast. That's going to hurt his overall rating. I think speed is actually the #1 factor in the game when they, calculate the overall rating. So yeah, you see these guys, that is a pretty good trio there at Alabama. I'll continue on now to Arkansas, and you see Devil Whaley, a 91, and then Chase Hayden, an 82. Whaley, I think, could have a big year this year, depending on what that offense looks like with Chad Morris. That's going to be very interesting, but he's a really good football player, and now in his junior season. He played well as a freshman. Now we go to Auburn, some new faces there. Cam Martin, because of his speed, actually gets an 89 overall. Some of the other areas of his game are not that great. I mean, his ability to break tackles is not going to be that good, but he's a speed guy, and with a 93 overall speed, you can see that puts him all the way up to an 89. Devin Barrett came out to be an 84, and I believe I did do Malik Miller as well. And these guys don't have a ton of playing time, so there is an adjustment on the scale for that. And you see Malik Miller only a 78. His yards per carry average is just not very good. So very interesting to see Cam Martin come out as an 89. Is he going to be that #1 running back? That's a big question for Auburn. Now we go on to Florida next. Yes, and Jordan Scarlett, an 89. Malik Davis, an 86. And LaMichael P. Ryan, an 81. And again, speed has a big factor in these players' overall rating. And you see Jordan Scarlett not suspended anymore. Will he hang on to that starting job in real life? That's a big question, but we'll use his numbers from a couple of years ago, and you can see he came out to be an 89. Now let's go ahead and check out Georgia. And there's DeAndre Swift. You see a 93 overall. That's going to be one of the better rated running backs here in the SEC, and I believe I did all 3 of these guys. Holyfield came out 88. Heron, an 88 as well. So that is a pretty good trio there of running backs for Georgia. If you look at those 3 guys, all rated very highly. We continue now with Kentucky. There's Benny Snell Jr., a 91 overall. And King is an 88. That is another 1-2 punch that is very good. You can see a lot of good running backs in the SEC. And, I mean, could be a very interesting year watching these running backs. Now we go to LSU. Nick Brissett, an 88. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I don't even know how to say his name, is an 80 overall. And if you're wondering about these XXs, those are players that are no longer on the team, like Darius Geis. That was him, a 92 overall. So those players no longer on the team. So that's how I kind of get rid of them on the depth chart. I put an XX. That way I know that it's a player that is not there anymore. Just if you guys were wondering. But you can see they don't really have a guy with a ton of experience. Brissett's numbers are pretty good. He comes out to be an 88. But they don't really have that #2 guy like most of these teams do have. Let's go to the next team. It's going to be Mississippi State. You see Arias Williams, an 89. And there's Kylan Hill, an 84. So that's a pretty good 1-2 punch. I was actually surprised that Williams was not rated over 90. But his yards per carry average isn't quite as good as I thought it would be. But he's a pretty good running back. Missouri coming in next. You see Demaria Crockett, a 92 overall. Larry Roundtree, an 84. So that's another, a lot of these teams are going to have 2 very solid running backs. And you see that continuing here with Missouri. Who would be next? Ole Miss, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, this is probably the worst team here. They lost their two top running backs, Devon Penniman in 83, Eric Sweeney in 82. Actually has more speed, but his yards per carry average was a little worse, so that's why he comes out only as an 82. So that's going to be an area of concern for Ole Miss, that running back position, where it looks like most teams are set up pretty good for next season. South Carolina, I think we actually did three players here. Rico Dowdle in 89, A.J. Turner in 87, and Williams in 86. Dowdle we had to use, I kind of used his whole career because he had a little bit of a drop-off this past season. So I didn't just use last season's numbers. I used his career numbers. So that did give him a little bit of a bump and put him as their top-rated running back. But that'll be an interesting team to watch. All three of those guys are very talented. As we continue on now to Tennessee. Oh, and now this is another team that's got some concerns. Ty Chandler in 84, and then Phil Zame in 80. So you see, they're not looking too good at that position either. So we've seen Tennessee and Ole Miss, probably the weakest two teams at this position. And again, we haven't been through spring to see younger players. We have not. I don't have the new recruits on here or anything like that. So you could see some guys emerge on this roster before the start of the season. Travion Williams at Texas A&M, a 90 overall. But how about Kendall Busty, an 88? His rating is really good as well. Again, a lot of these teams with two really solid running backs. And I think that's about it. Who do we have? We just have Vanderbilt. You see Kari Blasingame, an 84. And Jamari Wakefield in 82. So another team that's not great at that position. But, you know, everybody's pretty solid. Everybody's at least got a guy over 80. But, yeah, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, Tennessee, the weakest at this position in the SEC. And, you know, Auburn's not great there either based off of these ratings. But everyone else seems to have at least two guys up there around 90. So, again, we could see some really good running backs in the SEC. Let's just go back over it again quickly. Let's see who had the highest. I know Damian Harris had the highest overall rating. Let's see who was number 2. Trayvon Williams was a 90. Tennessee didn't have anybody rated high. South Carolina was about a 90. Harris Williams was a 89 or something like that. LSU didn't really have anybody. Kentucky had Benny Snell. All right, he's a 91. So you may see him as the number 2 running back. And Alabama actually would have 2. Georgia, DeAndre Swift, 93. So he's actually probably the second highest rated running back. It wasn't even a starter last season. You see Scarlett in 89. What was Whaley for Arkansas? I think he might have been an 89. No, he was a 91. So, yeah, he had a very high rating there. And, yeah, there we go. So, Joshua Jacobs, a 93 overall. He is tied with Swift for the number 2 overall running back in the SEC. So, they don't really have, besides Damian Harris, they don't have anybody that I would say is an elite running back, an early Heisman contender, even though I do think Swift is a Heisman contender. But they don't have, a ton of great running backs like we may see in other conferences. I really don't know. I haven't, at this point, this is the only conference I've done. So, yeah, we don't know about that. But they're very solid across the board. Pretty much every team has 2 really good running backs, but maybe not elite running backs. So that's kind of the takeaway here. And we'll be doing our running back rankings over on the SG1 Sports channel. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to rank each team at the running back position. And as of this video, I actually haven't even started on that, so I don't know where I would rank them. I would almost guarantee to put Alabama at number 1, and I'll probably put, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Ole Miss down there at the bottom. But after that, it gets tricky because you have to look at the number 1 guy for these teams. You have to look at the depth. Look at, do they have that 1-2 punch, which I think every team does. I didn't really see any team that had one good player and then just nobody else. Auburn with Cam Martin in 89, the next guy was like an 84, so they're probably kind of in that area, in that discussion. But overall, everybody seems to have two very solid running backs in the SEC. And we'll see how this compares to the other conferences. Again, I'm going to go each day and do a new conference, and we'll see how they all match up with each other. And then we'll see if this turns out to be true in real life next season. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the Sports Gaming 1 YouTube channel.